Good morning, everyone. This is Rick Morera here in my backyard, and we had a really cold night. It dropped down to 37 degrees. I did move a lot of the plants into the greenhouse, but I did leave a lot of stuff out just because it would have been a tremendous task, and I just don't have the energy anymore to move the plants when it drops down into the 40s. Even Swiffer's out here sunning herself. It's probably around 55 degrees now, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm just going to show you around. And I only saw a couple things that had some damage, so I'll point those out. But for the most part, I really didn't see that much stuff that was damaged by the cold. It dropped down, like I said, to 37. 32 would have been really detrimental. A freeze would have killed probably a lot of these plants. So I was lucky for that. We are lucky down here in Florida, and sometimes we seem like we're kind of whiny about the weather and all that, but we know we're blessed that we don't have to deal with the cold weather and plant issues that often. So and for the most part, like I said, if it doesn't drop below freezing, a lot of these plants are okay. Even the orchid blooms look really, really nice. And this one's been in bloom for probably 3 or 4 weeks. Wasn't phased by it. And this is the EPC 1015. I show it a lot because it's one of my favorites for the color that it gets, and it's a frequent bloomer. And it can take a lot of neglect and sun and dry spells. So yeah, it's one of the easiest Hoyas I have. And I did leave a lot of stuff out here. This Sariga oensis doesn't look at all phased by the cold. This Finlaysonia here either looks good. Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about, Hoyas, freaking out when they go below 50 degrees. But I think a lot of them can take cooler temperatures than that and bounce back. I'm sure it stuns their growth a little bit. And if you have very wet soil, it might cause root rot, and you'd have to start the plant all over from cuttings. But as you can see, these guys were out here at 37 degrees. It stayed at 37 for quite a few hours too. And yesterday it only got up to 50 degrees, and the rest of the day was in the 40s. So even Hoya elliptica, which I'm surprised there's not a lot of stress on there. And like I said, the orchids are looking good. I really don't see anything going really bad here. I know from other videos I usually have about 30 Hoyas hanging over here from the gutter, and I moved those all in to the greenhouse. I'll show you some of those later in there. But I am very lucky that it didn't really drop down into the freezing temperatures. And this is Hoya EPC 1002. The flowers on this are quite exquisite, and the leaves are really nice. It's getting a nice suntan out here, and it looks fine. I did not water my plants for probably 10 days before I knew the temperatures were going to drop, so I try not to water them to prevent the root rot. So that's key. And I was kind of worried about my Cebu Blue. It's up way up at the tree, and there was no way I could move that. That thing is 15 feet up the tree. And there's no damage to it that I can tell. And all these Hoyas out here look fine. There's a couple things back here, but I think it was because it was such a young leaf on this Germany. I forgot to take it in there, and it probably is gonna fall off. But the more mature leaves look fine, and the plant was really dry. And you can see my rack is kind of empty because a lot of these philodendrons I had on here are in the greenhouses. Even Mr. Mustache is looking good after the cold night. This Chinese lantern, or a butyllin, looks a little droopy. Could be because I didn't water it in anticipation of the cold weather, but it's a little bit droopy, so hopefully it won't die. And all these orchids, of course the amaryllis is doing great. These orchids have been in bloom for quite a while. And some of this is, this croton here, it's a lack of watering, I believe. Because all my other crotons are doing good. So I did notice that my Peliconia rostrata did have some issues, but these have a really intense root system that with tubers and everything, it'll bounce back, but it did look like it suffered from the cold. And I had covered my Thai constellation with a blanket, and it looks fine this morning. And the begonias, no issues with them. Some of these orchids, it's still early to tell, but they look fine still. And did move a lot of plants. And it was really windy last night as well. Temperatures dropped down to 37 with wind chills, I think, around 30 degrees. And my Jose Bueno looks totally fine. No issues. My blooming Phalaenopsis look good. The buds haven't fallen off yet. And the Carnosus are doing great. I mean, I knew they can take it as long as it stays above freezing. All of these Carnosa types can take really cold temperatures. So we're very fortunate that it didn't drop down to 32, and I'm very lucky that all these plants still look fine. Let me just go into the greenhouse and show you some stuff in there that I brought in. I apologize, it's kind of chaotic in here. I just kind of moved a lot of plants in here really fast, and it looks very disorganized, but I'm taking a lot of these plants to my greenhouse that I'm renting, my big greenhouse, and so I will have this small greenhouse very organized shortly. I did bring a lot of the newly rooted cuttings out here, and I have them all on a heat mat on this top bench. And then some of the ones that I had rooted already I brought them in. They're underneath the benches. Hoya Nooch came in. She was hanging out in the garden entrance. And Hoya McAllister. And this species Batong, which is some Phenosonii type that gets this really cool orange color. And I did bring in the AH74. I'm pretty sure it would have been totally fine out there because it is a Carnosa, and it would have been fine like the other ones, but it came in. And I did bring in Hoya Swiffer's Dream. She was getting nice suntan out there, but I didn't want her to suffer any. And then I have this Hoya that I got from Indonesia. Let's see if I can untangle it. I'm suspecting it could be like a McAllister or some other large flowering Hoya. I have no idea though, so this will be a totally nice surprise to see it bloom. So she came in, and of course my species Ake came in. She's really dry. I need to water a lot of these. Temperatures will be back in the 70s, so I'll be doing a lot of watering in here. This is a Hoya rye. I brought it in. And I have some the Florida Ghosts in here. And the Pedatum came in. A lot of the Hoya seedlings came in. I even took this Hoya Tendao, and she probably could have made it out there. I think it comes from higher elevations in Vietnam. And I took all my AH Hoyas inside as well. All these hybrids from a nursery in Thailand, AH Hoyas. I even took a Cipitingensis inside. And then I always forget the name of this. It starts with a Q. It's a philodendron. And of course, Chicken Massacre is in here. So yeah, it's kind of hard to move in here with all these plants. So, but you get the gist. I did selectively move some of the plants into the greenhouse and basically just hope for the best for the ones that stayed out there. And this is the Trigonolabus, and this is Hoya Timor-Leste, I believe that's how you say it. And one of the easiest Hoyas to root is the Silver Dollar. I got this about 2 weeks ago and stuck it in here, and it's rooting pretty nicely. And the Albiflora, I really like the new leaves. It's doing pretty well. And I believe the Amarita is still blooming. Let's see. Zoom in on her. Yeah, so Amarita is still in bloom. It's been in bloom for over 2 weeks there. And the Occultata is still in bloom and putting out more peduncles. So it stayed about 55 degrees all night. Inside the greenhouse, as you can see, it's pretty packed with plants. And I have a thermometer that alarms me inside the house if the temperatures drop below 55 in the greenhouse. So yeah, you can see everything pretty much was safe from this cold spell that we're getting here in Florida. And that is it for me today. I hope you found some of this information useful. I know a lot of people will probably think that I'm crazy letting these plants go down into the 30s, but it's obvious that I couldn't move all the plants inside. And so I did select and bring some of the more tender Hoyas and Orchids into the greenhouse, and left the other ones out and just hope for the best. Some will probably experience some root rot, and some of them will probably have a slow growth period. But when temperatures return, I think most of them will be okay. That's the beauty about plants. They're more forgiving than sometimes we give them credit for. So I hope you have a great Sunday, and I hope you come back and check out my videos. Be well. Thank you.